Gamers of Reddit, what did a game do to make you quit completely? I saved over my original Resident Evil 4 file that had the Chicago typewriter and infinite launcher. I just couldn't go back. I recently played it again 10 years later, but the loss still weighs heavy. I feel you on that. I had all the unlockable weapons when I played it on GamerCube. The hand cannon was my pride and joy. Bought the game again when they ported it to PS3, and it turns out I'm not good enough at the game anymore to unlock the hand cannon, and I didn't feel like pouring dozens of hours into practicing just to get good enough again. The Stanley Parable offers an achievement if you don't play for 5 years. I'm about 3.5 years into it. Imagine when you come back to the game a day early, so that's 4 years and 364 days. I had enjoyed the first Bioshock on Steam and decided to play the second. It told me I needed to make a Microsoft account or something. I said no. The game said okay and let me play anyway. Awesome. Score 1 for me. Then about 2 hours later I went to quit and it said yeah, you can't save unless you make an account. Fine, I'll make an account. You can't make an account unless you quit the game. But I can't save unless I have an account. Tough. Eve is real and internet pixels matter, but I came to the realization that I had no real life. So I quit cold turkey 4 years ago. Though I'm just playing other games now, they don't consume my every waking moment like Eve did. Anytime I get really far in a game and the save corrupts or I forget to save and die and get put back really far, I usually don't play it again for a really long time. My brother kicked over my Super Nintendo by accident while it was on the last boss of Final Fantasy III aka 6, sending the save file into the ether. It was upsetting enough that I brought it up in my best man speech at his wedding 19 years later. Star Wars Galaxies. When they did that stupid giant change to make it more WoW-like or whatever. When I realized I would be perfectly content living in Stardew Valley forever instead of living my real life. Star Fox Adventures. I really liked the storyline and thought it had solid gameplay and puzzles, up until the minigame that concerned pushing against a rotating log to knock a particularly strong dino of the Lightfoot tribe into a pit. It was a button mash style minigame. You had to press the A button as fast as you could. I could never mash fast enough, and even had friends try and fail. After a solid couple of days of failing, I finally gave up and never touched the game again. But not before the scene that played when you failed, in which the chief dino peered into the pit at Fox and his pathetic, was burned into my memory. When I was like 10 years old I used to be obsessed with Final Fantasy XI to the point of addiction. I shared an account with my 16-year-old brother and far surpassed him because of the sheer amount of time I spent playing. One day the game glitches and all of my expensive weapons and armor are totally gone. My character was just naked. I had worked so hard I actually cried. Alas, I ended up working just as hard again and getting everything back in a couple of months. Then the same thing happened again. So I rage quit forever. Recently I was talking to my fiance about how I loved this game and what happened, and he said there's no way that's what happened. Your brother totally stole all your stuff, and I was like no way he would have done that. So I texted him and asked. He replied yes, I'm sorry, I was a bastard. It's still all on my account if you want to go back and play it. I still have yet to go back. I spent 15ish years thinking the game had just glitched. XCOM 2. I had gotten really attached to a soldier I had named after me, and then he died and I quit for about 2 months. As a kid I played Sid Meier's Pirates on the Wii and loved it. Then I found out the hard way you can't play it forever. Everything about the character aging went way over my head. I periodically reinstall this game and play around for a few days usually, but I always use a trainer to make my characters age static, because the aging mechanics and slow countdown to game over just kill the fun for me. I wanna be able to do everything at my own pace. I used to play a board game called Axis and Allies with my brother and some friends. Setup for this game took forever and the game skid last weeks. We were in the middle of a game, about 3 days or so of playing, when it happened. One of us bumped the table. All the pieces went everywhere and that was essentially the end of our big board gaming adventure. I absolutely love board games of all kinds, but the lengthy setup, difficulty finding players, and the storage requirements of having a large game library make it impractical. I played the original RuneScape back in the early 2000s. I stopped playing after I lost my R2H and never rejoined. Time commitments from a fixed schedule. I was in WoW in progression raiding. That requires near perfect attendance, especially because I was a tank, and I simply did not have the ability to meet that anymore with my new life. Probably literally my 20th Skyrim character. I used survival mods, required for you to stay warm, dry, fed, quenched, rested, to increase immersion and stretch out the game to make it feel timeless. When I maxed out enchanting and was able to have 100% free destruction spells and cast OP endgame spells for free, I realized that I had done everything there was to do in Skyrim. I'm at peace with the 2000 hours it gave me, but I doubt I'll ever play again. In Terraria, the constant fear of the corruption spreading terrifies me. Not quit completely, but I almost quit San Andreas because of the airplane missions and another one that's mentioned a lot on Reddit that deals with a train. But all you had to do was follow the dang train. CJ. Oblivion. I somehow wandered into an area that I could not escape from. Fight my way out or hide in. I was too young to find a solution. Also League of Legends. I finally decided spending 4-6 hours a day to improve my rank in a game of horrible people which my friends already quit wasn't worth it. Far Cry 4. Was playing in co-op with a friend and we found out we were gated by single player. We couldn't go to new areas unless both of us, separately, completed more SP missions. Couldn't be done in co-op. Killed the game for me. Also, Star Wars Commander. It was an okay mobile game, just kinda mindless, which I enjoyed. However, it got to a point where I couldn't do anything unless I participated in PvP, which I didn't care for at all, so I dropped that game. World of Tanks. The developers, Wargaming.net, decided to farm money by introducing premium vehicles which are flat out better than regular vehicles. Almost every decision they're making is bringing their game down. Last patch they made a ranked battle mode in which the best players earn a special currency with which you can make your tank better. So Wargaming is making the already good players even better, which makes it even more unfair for the more unexperienced players. GG. Freaking Chocobo racing in Final Fantasy X. Tried to get a perfect score for like 10 hours. Got so pissed off I deleted my save. Chocobo racing. I've never shouted at or degraded anyone as much as I did my freaking Chocobo who wouldn't freaking turn properly, and those freaking seagulls that fly into you one after the other. The Last of Us. There was this part where you literally dropped into a darkened basement filled with at least 2 bloaters and I chickened out hard for a year. When I returned my strategy was flawless. Run like heck to the exit and just skip that section. It worked. Obvious answer, but Pokemon Go. The step tracking was broken, so instead of fixing it, they decided to remove tracking altogether, because it wasn't the system they wanted it to be. So the only way to track Pokemon was through online maps. Then they started hunting down those websites and taking them down. That killed the game. Yeah, that's when I quit. I had actually made a workout routine using those online maps. I'd pick one and run pretty fast to the spot to catch something and then pick another, and this had me running and walking for over an hour a day. Then they ruined it by attacking the online site. Game over. Halo 5 got rid of local multiplayer. I played multiplayer for a month or 2 after I'd beaten the campaign and then I never picked up the game again. I'll probably get Halo 6 for the campaign, but if they don't bring back the split screen, I doubt I'll even play the new multiplayer. Kind of getting sick of the franchise as it is. There will be new weapons that you can get from these loot crates. Don't worry, they will be cosmetic only. Playtesting revealed that the melee weapons were faster, and one of the weapons ended up being the most broken combo I've ever seen in an online game. I don't care if COD is doing World War II now, it's too late for me. I know they'll frick it up somehow. When Rust did the big update, everyone was hoping for some hacker protection on the servers, but instead they dumped out a whole different game. This wasn't me but my friend. In the original Dead Rising they had an achievement in Infinity mode where you had to survive for 7 in-game days to get it, which took about 14 hours real time, no saves, non-stop. His Xbox froze when he had less than an hour left, broke his disc in half. I just started playing The Witcher 1 and I got up to a part where you have to get past a schizophrenic grandmother to let you into the house to see Shani. I finally got in somehow and Shani wasn't even home. The grandma kept walking up to me and initiating a conversation with no options while I was looting the place. I think I'm done. At one point there's a dialogue option where you just tell her to drop dead or something, and she literally does. It made the game so much better. I know Sims doesn't make me a gamer, but I was playing for 2 days straight during the summer a couple years back and the game crashed and I lost everything I had done. I haven't played since. Final Fantasy IX. Disc 3 of the game had a bug or something, and every one of them that they made in that batch were all like that. You were in this mine, climbed up a ladder and the game would freeze. I want to say your save was ruined too because I remember getting another copy, playing all the way through to that same spot, and the same thing happening. Said screw this game and didn't try again. Fairly recently, I bought a used PS1 and a box of games that included FFIX and I will be damned if didn't play all the way through and the same thing happened when I hit that ladder. Frick that game. I don't want to beat it. Rune Escape. Approximately 10 years ago, I finally got myself all rune armor, rune scimitar, rune shield, rune two-handed sword, money. I was decked out in my mind, and it took forever. I decided to try my hands in the warzone, or whatever the PvP area was called. Formed a group with these two dudes, went on a killing spree with them for a couple hours and went so far in. Got some great loot but also developed a bond with them. It was time for me to go to bed so I said, alright guys, it was fun, nice playing with you both. They said wait, so you're leaving, to which I replied yes, and right then and there they both turned on me. To my horror, killed me on the spot and stripped me of every last bit of money and newly acquired rune equipment I had. I was devastated. I turned off my computer and never returned to RuneScape since. The frame rate drops in Just Cause 3. I love the Just Cause series, but Just Cause 3 had too many technical issues so I quit before I finished the campaign. Minecraft. I was working on a huge redstone contraption, and I mean huge, this thing took me at least 2 months to design and make. And I did it all on glowstone, because that's how all redstone machines were made at the time. And then there was an update that made putting redstone on glowstone impossible. All the redstone on the ground turned into the item. Now, this wouldn't have been so enraging if it weren't for the sheer size of the machine, meaning that every item drop from redstone lagged my computer to all heck. I couldn't open that save without putting my computer into an existential crisis and playing with negative FPS. I haven't worked on redstone since. Witcher 3. There was a side mission where Geralt is trying to withdraw money out of a bank account he had opened in the past. It turns into a seemingly never-ending fetch quest where you need different forms and lots of waiting for not a huge payoff. I work at a bank and it was all too much for me. As someone who works for the government, the representation of bureaucracy at its worst was hilarious to me. I was laughing through that whole quest. Club Penguin. Server shut down. Luckily there's Club Penguin rewritten. In Red Dead Redemption I tried to keep that white horse that you captured at the beginning of the game for as long as I possibly could. After completing about 85% of the game I was riding down a steep and curvy mountain cliff when a wolf or coyote or whatever attacked my horse and it fell off the mountain into its death. After not playing for a few weeks because of this, a friend wanted to play online together. He told me he wanted to show me something in the game. After about 40 minutes of riding up a mountain, he tells me to stop and look at something in the distance. He proceeds to knock me off of the cliff and I fall to my death. I sold the game to GameStop for about $11. Apart from taking away most of my waking hours due to a minor addiction, Dota 2's toxicity level was way too high for me. I have 1k hours and I have no desire to ever step foot in that cesspool again. Shout out to all the pleasant players who made the experience awesome, but it's too bad the toxic players are in far greater abundance. Battlefield 4. I played only in noob rooms, and 99% of the time, just kept getting killed. I managed to get a kill once in a while, but was not getting any better, so I quit. I'm with you on this. I'm decent at most shooters and I DK what it is about that game, but you just walk around and die. Like I swear I can fire on someone full auto, be hitting them, and they'll look up, see me and kill me, or you just get killed by some random guy who is somehow in the room you just left. My level 98 Amazon got killed in the blood moor by a quill rat after a patch, and there were no options to redistribute my skill or talent point. I was once playing MMORPG revolving around building cities and expanding your empire. The game was called Travian. Approximately 20k players were playing the game on a single server. I was playing the game as a robber with a strong alliance having my back. I controlled all of my troop movements from my capital, thus the troops ate way more food than the capital produced. On this server, I was the second or third best robber for an extended period of time, so you can imagine how big my army was. The problems with my vast army came at night. Before going to sleep, I had to adjust all the troop movements, so that enough food is available for them to eat. Some troops had to arrive in 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, or my army would starve to death. Because I had to go to school during this time, I always had to adjust huge troop movements in the morning and before going to sleep. It was way too much work for my teenage mind, so I stopped doing it after several weeks. I asked my alliance members if I can park my troops in their cities. In the end, I attacked a huge defense force of an enemy of my alliance and never entered the game again. The Tomb Raider series where she's a kid on an island. Get to the part where she parachutes off a waterfall and you control her over tops of trees. For 3 hours, kept getting impaled and having to start the sequence over. Rage quit and it's been 2 years now. I'm a huge arachnophobe. I quit Skyrim after seeing how many spiders were in the game. Answer: a lot. Anytime you need to be connected to the internet in order to play single player mode. I'm not sure the exact moment, but as I was getting deeper into the Skyrim main quest I saw the same dungeon for the 50th time and just alt F4'd and never looked back. I had a similar thing. I'd largely ignored the main quest to investigate everything else. Then halfway through a dungeon I suddenly realized I'd been doing almost the exact same stuff for the entire game and quit. It took me about 100 hours to realize it, but then I had the same experience in Fallout 4 and gave up after about 10 hours. Fighting games that have god-awful PC servers, like what the heck? I really want to like MMORPGs. I have sunk countless hours and a ton of money into them just trying to like one. I think the social aspect, making your own character, and having a giant world to explore really appeals to my mind. But the combat always feels janky. I never care about the story, and even though every step of the way I'm told I'm some amazing hero that will save the world, nothing seems to ever change. You have been visited by the hamster of joy. Comment: I like chicken to live a happy and full of joy like the joy hamster life. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.